Hey guys, it's your pal on wheels, CT Barry, coming at you with another video. And, I'm wearing my Adam Cole shirt, my AEW hat, but I'm actually not really going to talk about wrestling today. I've been following RGT85 on YouTube's videos about how he sold off a lot of his video game collection because, he had a bunch of emulators and could just emulate all his old games and stuff like that he wanted to play. And a few months ago, back in March, I did the same thing with my movie collection. I've had some of these movies that I had for, God, I'd say since college, and I hadn't watched them. I bought them for collector's purposes, just to say, oh, I have every single Marvel movie ever made, or, I have every baseball movie ever made, just to name off a few things. And, it got to the point, I live in a one-bedroom apartment, so that's ground level. So, you're not going to have room to put everything you collect in a unit. It got to the point, I took them to my dad's for a while, and then, I thought I'd dive back in, and then I bought these DVD bag looking things that can hold 40 of them in there. And I just looked at them one day, I got them all organized by genre, I had them in my closet, I was like, you know what, am I really gonna watch these? And, my family was telling me, Corey, don't do it, you're gonna regret it. And I took a gamble, I think I kept 3 that were sentimental to me. I kept a couple wrestling shows I was in attendance from, and I kept my Red Sox 2018 World Series Blu-ray. And I have this Scooby-Doo house thing that has the whole Where Are You series on it. And, I loaded it up in one of my stash vehicles, and I took it to a local, movie and video game store in my area. And, I traded the guy. He gave me $200 trade-in, and I got a GameCube and 6 games with it. Unfortunately, the GameCube didn't work, but the guy was, fair, and he gave me the $200 in cash. And, and then I got, some games that I wanted with it, because it was right around my birthday. So, and I think today, I'm going to talk to you guys, do I regret it? Was my family right? Honestly, no, I don't. There's been a couple times I've laid in bed kicking myself in my sleep because I'm like, ah, damn it, why the hell did I do that? But then it's I draw the bigger picture in my head, and I'm just were you using these, or were they just sitting on a shelf? Because, something else RGT mentioned was clutter. No, my apartment was not really cluttered. I'm in a wheelchair, and I have to be able to get around, so, I can't clutter it. But, looking at my shelf right here beside me that had all my movies and games on it, I'm just like, holy hell. This feels so overwhelming. Like, I didn't realize I had that many movies. And and I've seen some movie collectors that have thousands of movies. And, even just having like 400 some movies, that's not total. Like, that's like how many physical boxes I have, because some DVDs and Blu-rays have 2 movies on in one case or whatever. And it was just like, I'm just sitting there going, oh my god, like, and to me, because I started, toward the end of my senior year in high school collecting movies. And I ran with it throughout college. Like, I would just buy movies out the ass. And when my local Walmart, just right across the river from me had the 374 bin, I was buying movies out of that weekly. And it was just like, and then it was like, I got to the point, like, right after I graduated college, that I hit the whole digital thing, like with Vudu and all that. I sold a bunch of movies, then I did regret it, and bought a bunch of them back, and then it's like, when I moved here in 2020, I'm just like, because there'd be a while I'd get back into it, and I'd buy a few, and then it just got to the point where it was like, why am I spending my money on these? For something I may watch a handful of times in my life. Now, I know there's movie collectors out there that, they watch the same movies over and over and over. And yeah, I have my few movies that I've seen God knows how many times. Everybody does. But it was just like, and I know, like, the physical media enthusiasts are crying right now. They're like, oh, what if you lose access to that movie? And I'm just like, listen, I don't care. Something I'm going to watch maybe once or twice in my life, I'll find a way to get it. There's hundreds of ways to access movies nowadays. I don't condone doing this, but there's people that'll buy VPNs and just get movies randomly off the internet. There's thousands of ways to get movies, and I'm just like, I don't need to sit myself in this collection of 400 some movies, and then I'm not gonna watch because, my buddy Doug, that passed away back in January, he would always tell me, he'd be like, Corey, why are you buying all of this stuff? You're not watching it. It's just sitting there. Why? I'm like, well, I'm a collector. And then I'm just like, because I did it a couple months after he passed away, and I'm just like, holy crap, he was right. I was just buying, because I lived at home with my parents, and they took care of a lot of stuff when I started collecting. So, my check that I got, was pretty much mine to spend minus a few things, and that's what I did. Like, I bought movies and video games, and then, because, I didn't buy video games a whole lot unless it was something I really wanted to play or I found an excellent deal. Because I'm like, oh, I have all these games that I'm not playing, and now it's like, yeah, I buy a lot of video games, and I may not get into them for a while, but, it's just like, because, I don't do all that emulation stuff, I'm not real good at it, I don't know the ins and outs of it, and honestly, like, I don't even play a lot of the games that a lot of people classify as retro. I mean, yeah, I play the Marios, the Zeldas, all the classic stuff. But it's just like, I'm 25 years old. I didn't grow up with that. Like, a lot of that stuff existed before I was even born. Or, was still kind of a thing when I was just a baby. So, it was just like my version of retro is PlayStation 2. Wii. I think even the PS3 and the 360 are starting to become, classified as retro now. That's my retro. And, a lot of those games are harder to emulate, but, it's like, yeah, I have my collection, but, it's just like, I don't buy games unless they appeal to me. Like, if it's something like, oh, that might be cool to play, or, whatever. But it's just like, when I go to the Classic Plastics toy store up in Parkersburg, West Virginia, or Peddler's Junction, yeah, I might be looking at some games, and, if I see something of, like, a franchise that I like, or whatever, I'm like, cool, if I have this game for $10, sure, I'll buy it. But, it's just like, I have my collection of games, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. And, when it starts to feel overwhelming, then, I'll clean some of it out. I'll go trade it, or sell it, or, that sort of thing. Because, like, my PS2, like, I only played a select few PS2 games growing up, like old sports games and all that, so, that's what I bought. Like, I bought Power Pros, Backyard Baseball, a lot of the old wrestling games, because that's what I grew up playing. That's what I enjoy, I mean, sure, a lot of it, like I said, sometimes if I see a game that looks interesting, I might check it out. Or, if I see, one of, like, Metal Jesus Rocks videos of, like, hidden gems or whatever that he's playing, I might be like, oh, cool, like, that looks like a pretty interesting game. I'm like, yeah, I have some PS2 games in the collection I haven't really dabbled with yet, but, I found them for good prices, like, like old Marvel games, or, and, and when I did play of them, I enjoyed, so, because obviously I put them in my systems to test them, to make sure they was working and all that, and I'm just like, especially nowadays, like, my main thing is to get a lot of, my favorite games on the Switch, because, I have one of these little grip things that make the Switch more comfortable to hold in handheld, and I have one of the older ones, with the crappy kickstand on it. So, I mean, and, and I use that, like, if I'm watching wrestling and I want to, play video games while I'm watching wrestling, or whatever. And, so that's where I've been, getting a lot of my collection is, because that's what I enjoy. Like, yeah, my dad actually found an old Wii and it worked perfectly, and, I've been using that to get, some old school GameCube games that, like some old wrestling ones like Day of Reckoning, which, what I did play a Day of Reckoning, it was an absolute blast. I've got a backyard football game for it, and I've been really enjoying that. So, like, I stick to games that I enjoy, Because, like, there's sometimes I'll say a PS2 game, like, if it's a hunting game or whatever, because I'm not really into hunting, and I'm just kind of like, like, maybe if it's, like, for the 360 or whatever, or, newer generation, then yeah, but, I mean, there's times, I'll pass on a game because it just doesn't look like it's going to pique my interest. So my message to collectors is whatever it is you collect, whether it be movies, video games, toys, whatever, make it about you. You know, don't be just buying crap because, you're like, oh, well, this looks cool, or I gotta have this because it's in a set, you know. Or like Funko collectors will just go and buy boxes of Funko Pops, stuff they're not even into, and it's just like, and I used to be that way. I mean, people will still say I'm still like that with video games, but like I said, if it has, I see a lot of crap on the Switch eShop and the, PSN store, there's $1.99 games or whatever, and I'm like, because I know people are like, oh, a game for $1.99, sure, let's get it. And I'm just like, no, it just doesn't really interest me. I mean, I'm an open gamer. Like, I'll try anything, but, and, and a lot of my games I've been buying is, a lot of games I have on my PC, I've been, switching a lot of those over to consoles because, I'll be honest with you. I like my PC. I really do. The amount of options you get with it, the Steam sales are nice, the free Epic games are nice, and it's just like, but it's like, a lot of people around me were switching to PC. Because, a lot of people say that's the way to go. It's cheaper. You can upgrade it on over time, But I'm just like, I got it, and I'm like, all these stinking launcher updates, especially the Ubisoft launcher, that launcher is a complete pile of crap. So is the Rockstar launcher. The Epic Games one's decent, but I still think Steam's the best. Because Steam's been at it a long time, and they give you good deals and stuff like that. But I'm just like, because here's the thing. I've talked about my cerebral palsy diagnosis on my channel before. And, and I'm not saying this to garner sympathy or anything like that. But, when you're at a computer, you have to be at a desk. Because computers and TVs don't always play nice. You gotta have, the idea of the computer is to hook it up to the monitor, have the mouse and the keyboard, yada, yada, yada. And it's just like, yeah, I have a 32-inch overhead monitor, which makes it kind of like playing on a TV, and even if, a lot of games have controller support. But it's just like, you gotta turn on the computer, you gotta boot it up, you gotta wait for the thing to load, and sometimes it's gotta load a secondary launcher, and I'm just like, I don't want to go through all that crap. I just want to sit down in my recliner, flip on my TV, flip on one of my game consoles, and just sit there and relax and play games. Especially, hang on, put this thing in drive, but, because, I got this collection of, true crime games. You can get them in the game section at Walmart for, $10, This is my PC gaming, because, it's just point and click, and you just have a mouse to find the hidden objects, and, I mean, I have a 1660 Ti in my computer, which is a pretty decent graphics card, but, even the recommended specs are, going up to, 2080 and all that, and I'm just like, listen, I don't, my hands don't work, with my CP, my dexterity doesn't do good to, screw thing into the computer, and and graphics cards are just getting up there in price, and it's just like, to me, it's easier to just have the console because you can just turn it on, play it on your big screen TV, sit wherever you want, because, it's like, and what I was going to say about this chair is, it's hell sitting in this chair for a long period of time. Even though this thing kicks back and whatnot, but, it don't beat, just sitting in a recliner that's big and soft, and, I can stretch out better, and, it's easier on my back and on my butt, I mean, so, and that's why, like, a lot of my favorite games that I've gotten on the computer, I've been looking for good deals, like, especially if they have Switch ports, so that's kind of what I've been, focusing my collecting on, is getting a lot of my favorite video games. I'm a sucker for platformers, I'll play any 3D, 2D platformer, that's, like Mario and all that. So, but, like, I don't buy them at full price, I'll wait until they get to be like $5 or $10. That way I'm not paying regular video game price for a game, I've already got on my computer, but, I want it on my console just for the convenience factor. So, that's what I do, but I've been rambling about this random crap for over 20 minutes, but like I said, guys, my message is stick to your collection, but make it about you. Don't buy something that you're not going to enjoy, because then you're just throwing money down the drain. So, but, like my games, yeah, I may not play them right away, but, anyone who collects video games knows games go up and down in price. So, whenever I find a good deal on a game that I'm interested in, sure, I might go ahead and grab it, but, it's in the backlog if I need to play it. So, because, eventually I will get to the game, Unlike the movie, that would just sit there until the end of time. But anyway, guys, that's enough rambling from me, and I will talk with you guys in the next video. Take care.